Excuse me. Good morning. Happy 4th. You know what? I want to look up a couple things. Good thing I've got my phone here. Let's see what we got. First off, I'm kind of interested to know what our moon phase is looking like, so I'm going to look at that. Okay, so we are in the beginning stages of our moon phase. About a 22% illumination. We're in a waxing crescent, so I hope that you got your manifestations going. Alright, so I wanted to kick this off because it is the 4th of July. I'm sorry about the long pauses here. So today, we are celebrating our independence from Great Britain, and I see a lot of this on Twitter, and I'm a little tired of it, so I'm going to say something. I'm probably also going to hear about it here too, and that's fine. So, as you know, there were men gathered, and they decided to pen a declaration of independence from Great Britain because they were tired of being taxed, and I think the rate was like 3%. 3%. There were some violations of rights going on. Keep in mind that the Bill of Rights was formed because our founders fought a 2-year war for them. Also, they did not give them to us, they merely gave us protections, restraints on government. So I want to tell you a little something. Maybe our school history didn't teach us. So what happened to the 56 men who signed the Declaration? 5 of them were captured by the British as traitors and tortured before they died. 12 had their homes ransacked and burned. 2 lost their sons serving in the Revolutionary Army. 1 had 2 sons captured. 9 of the 56 fought and died from wounds or hardships of the war. They signed and pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. What kind of men were they? Many, I can hear them now: colonizers, slave owners, old rich white men. Well, 24 were lawyers and jurists, 11 were merchants, 9 were farmers and large plantation owners, men of means and well educated, but they signed the Declaration of Independence knowing full well that the penalty would be death if they were captured. Carter Braxton of Virginia, a wealthy planter and trader, saw his ships swept from the seas by the British Navy. He sold his home and properties to pay his debts and died in rags. Thomas Mackin was so hounded by the British that he was forced to move his family almost constantly. He served in the Congress without pay, and his family was kept in hiding. His possessions were taken from him, and poverty was his reward. Vandals of soldiers looted the properties of Dillery, Hall, Clymer, Walken, Gwinnett, Hayward, Rutledge, and Middleton, At the Battle of Yorktown, Thomas Nelson Jr. noted that the British General Cornwallis had taken over the Nelson home for his headquarters. He quietly urged General George Washington to open fire. The home was destroyed, and Nelson died bankrupt. Francis Lewis had his home and properties destroyed. The enemy jailed his wife, and she died within a few months. John Hart was driven from his wife's bedside as she was dying. Their 13 children fled for their lives. His field and his gristmill were laid to waste. For more than a year, he lived in forests and caves, returning home to find his wife dead and his children vanished. A few weeks later, he died from exhaustion and broken heart. Norris and Livingston suffered similar fates. Such were the stories and sacrifices of the American Revolution. These were not wild-eyed, rabble-rousing ruffians. They were soft-spoken men of means and education. They had security, but they valued liberty more. Standing tall, straight, and unwavering, they pledged for the support of this declaration, and with firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Their sacrifice gave us a free and independent America. The history books never told you a lot about what happened in the Revolutionary War. We didn't just fight the British. We didn't fight just the British. We were British subjects at the time, and we fought our own government. Some of us take these liberties for granted, but we shouldn't. Take a few minutes this year while enjoying your 4th of July holiday and silently thank these patriots. It's not much to ask for the price that they paid. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we honor the sacrifices of those men, many of whom suffered great loss. Now, how does that relate to you? Well, if you don't live in the United States, probably nothing. I don't know if something like that is part of your national history, but it's certainly a part of ours, like it or not. Those events occurred. And let's look at how things are today. Because in my opinion, I think we're a little too comfortable. Just a little too comfortable. On this particular channel, and with me specifically, I will tell you, I always will support a you do you stance. I don't have to support what you do. I don't even have to like what you do. But I will forever support the fact that you should be able to do it within reason. As long as you're not harming anyone else, I should not have a thing to say about how you do it. But anyway, that's what liberty is. That's what I believe in. 100%, despite the flaws of those who survived. That's what I believe in. It's not really a spiritual thing. It's just those people, when they did what they did, when they signed that declaration, when they knew that the minute they put quill to paper, or quill to parchment rather, quill to vellum, shall we say, that it would forever alter their lives, and some for the worst. And many of them would rather die on their feet than live on their knees. I don't particularly care how anyone else views that. I don't really particularly care not that's something supported. I mean, let's face it, past couple weeks, so the subscriber count has kind of come up, but the viewership, well, let's just say BitChute is really carrying carrying the weight of that. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. The fact that you are still here means everything to me. Everything. So, that's why I still do it. Some of you may need this message. Some of you may know someone who needs this message. You'll pass that message along. And these aren't messages coming from me. They're just messages coming to me, and then I relate them to you. That's how this works. Insight. And if you haven't already begun your manifestations, now is a good time to do it. Go ahead. Write down what you would wish for the most. Concentrate and focus on it, meditate on it, and then either burn it and let the ashes fly, or tear it up and toss it to the wind, however you want to do it. Ball it up and bury it, or whatever you do, let them go, let them out there, so that now those forces well within the universe can answer them, and they can answer them for you. Alright, let's get down to it. Starting with you. We have talked about this, that full moon in Aries, controlling, cool those emotions a little bit. I found I've had to. And often I find when dealing with certain people, some of them, I can have a rational, reasonable discussion with them. And some of them, they don't want a rational, reasonable discussion, they want compliance. And on this wonderful Independence Day, I will not be complying any longer. But I'm not saying that in anger. I'm not saying it with force. I'm saying that's just what it is. Here's the thing. We do occasionally talk about tabletop role-playing games, particularly one that I will call, you've seen the mug, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think I need to tell you which one it is. Playing a game like that, listening to metal, dressing in black, having long hair, being a little bit of a horror fan. Those were things in my hometown that could get you all kinds of bullied. And the thing was, it didn't stop. You figure after, high school graduation, people would grow up. And they didn't. Of course, the whole aim of that was to get me to stop all those things. Spoiler alert, the only thing that's not present any longer is the hair. It's because I lost most of it. And now I shave it, so it's not there anymore. That's the only thing. But that's for biological reasons. I still play my tabletop role-playing games. In fact, my physical collection has never been bigger than it is now. I've got like 2 or 3 more on the way. My study of them continues because I'm currently working on my own. Still love horror movies. In fact, I watched one last night. Still wearing black. It's a great color. It works for me. And of course, I'm still listening to metal, but my musical tastes have expanded to many other genres. As a matter of fact, if I were to show you my Spotify list, you would be like, wait, what the hell? And then there are things I listen to because I find them funny. You might find them offensive. But the whole point of me telling you that is, why get angry? I won. If the point of all that bullying was to get me to stop doing that. Well, I'm still doing it. It failed. I won. We could draw parallels to those who signed the Declaration. The whole point was to get them to turn on the people that they pledged their lives, their honor, and their sacred fortunes to, their lives, their fortunes, and sacred honor. I'm sorry, it's still a little early for me. Get them to turn on, flip on them, and they didn't do it. And I'm reminded of something. If you're watching this on YouTube, I recommend watching the Ip Man movies with Cinebinge, because George, I think it was in those Ip Man movies where he said, revolutions are not this clean. They are bloody. And I want many of you to keep that in mind. Alright. So let's dial it back a little. Let's cool those emotions. Let's return to reason. I don't care how you slice it. You cannot reasonably ask someone else to read your mind. If you want something from someone, you have to talk to them. And if you start belittling them because you're up in your head, guess what? They're going to be inclined to be like, nah. As a matter of fact, case in point, there have been patients who have asked me in many times, do you think you could contact my doctor for something? And if I got time, yeah, absolutely, I'll call your doctor's office. And I've had patients who have come at me pretty hard with some hostility, and I'm like, you need to call your doctor. What's the difference? The approach. So what's your approach? I know it was kind of a long way to get there to that card, but that's what we're talking about right now. There are people making demands. You will do this, you will do that, blah, 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 blah. And when presented with something like that, I'm like, no. You are not going to play this game. You are not going to play that game. You're not going to read that book. Watch me. When playing this game, could you keep something in mind? When reading that book, would you just kind of keep this in mind? When listening to that music, understand this. Do you see the difference? It's all about approach. I'd be willing to bet we're about to see that in these cards. Let's get to the rest of them. I know some of you are thinking, finally, shut the fuck up, Wolfgar. Okay. So, we have a full moon in Aquarius. We have a new moon in Leo. And finally, first quarter moon in Scorpio. So, we were talking about being real and being authentic. I'm half tempted right now to run over to that shelf and pull the Sacred Rebels Oracle. As a matter of fact, I think I will, because that's something that's calling to me. I know this is kind of a first, but bear with me. We fought in a rebellion. We might as well ask some Sacred Rebels, shall we? Well, we do need to be real. We need to be very authentic. It doesn't always mean you have to be a complete jerk about it. It just means that you gotta be very real. Sometimes you do have to speak very plainly, but you can speak plainly while being polite. Oh, and there we go. Okay, so just had a few cards slip there. There we go. Just going to do a couple quick shuffles here. We're going to see if we can't get a little support from some rebels today. How about that? Okay, there we go. We're going to put that one right there. So, being authentic is going to be everything. Be real, be genuine, be you. You still don't have to apologize for being you. But just remember, you can be real while keeping your emotions in check. Believe one thing, that's how you're going to get a lot more accomplished. Alright. I don't think I need to explain this card. Not to you. You know. Because I'm always telling you to do what lights you up, to shine on. Let me ask you something. Actually, let me point something out. There is a song by a band called Jackal. And it's called Better Than Chicken. And granted, its subject matter isn't exactly family friendly here. But part of the chorus is, I like laughing better than bitching. So let's think about that for a minute. Don't you get more of a kick from helping out others? If you really want to help out others, the way to do it is being calm, being rational, being reasonable. Have reasonable expectations. There are things I would still like to see. I mean, hey, Dungeons and Dragons, it's more popular now than ever. And that's both a good and a bad thing. Because for years, many of us, and I think Grumpy Old Grognard pointed this out, many of us were trying to welcome the cool kids to the table. We really wanted you there. Well, now the cool kids see that it's cool, and now they're sitting at the tables and they're still the same cool kids, but they're still jerks. I would like to see something like that change. And so I do my part. How do I do that? It's very simple. I know a lot of kids are watching Stranger Things, so I tell their parents, hey, I know how you can get a version. I know how you can get that version of that game for absolutely free. All you need to do is buy dice. You could buy a large bag of them for $30 just down the street. And all you will spend is $30. You'll get PDFs, you'll have pencil and paper, and there you go. And then you can make it as detailed or not as you want. And then I give them a website. Here you go. If you want the books are sold at cost here, here's another version you can play. It's one book. Very simple. And don't you know, those parents come back and they thank me for it. Because they're not spending $50 on a book. They're getting a bunch of books for absolutely free, or a bunch of books for less. And don't you know, when that happens, I feel a lot better. Alright? Now, we've been talking about doing all that, taking a new approach, being a little more diplomatic, being more reasonable, and that sort of thing. How do you do that? You're going to have to release those blocks. This is the bad news, ladies and gentlemen. Not a lot of people want to release those blocks. Don't want to get rid of their trauma or their victimhood. Why? Because it's the only way that they can have power and still claim oppression. No shit. So, building off releasing those blocks, let's ask some rebels how they do it. We have relax the hold of darkness and be at cause. Conscious connection and the perfection of your life. I don't think I need to explain this. This is the same explanation as the devil card. You cannot hold on to the darkness of your past if you expect to have a brighter future. It just doesn't happen. You also need to understand that the people that you claim are normies, they're people. Many times they will not understand where you're coming from. I've invited all kinds of people to my virtual table for D&D, and guess what? Some of them are like, "No, I'm good. No, I don't get down with that." I'm like, "Why not?" "No, just don't get into that." Okay. They're still people. They just don't do the things I do, that's all. And here's the final one, the perfection of your life. It doesn't say the perfection of the world around you. It says the perfection of your life. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want true perfection in your life, you want that kind of thing, it's fine. It's fine to try. I mean, you'll probably never achieve it. Some already have. Some are like, you know what, I like a minimalist lifestyle, and this is as minimalist as it gets, and I am good with it. Others out there want to become billionaires, and they have. And they're good with it. Some just kind of prefer to be a little bit in the middle there. And they've achieved it, and they're good with it. Some are still struggling to achieve that. Others are struggling trying to not slide back into that. The question is, how do you do that? It's simple. Work on you. Your manifestations really do need to focus on you. You can wish something for the rest of the world, but what about you? You can't take care of anyone else until you've taken care of yourself. How are you going to take care of someone else if you're broken down, beaten down, no morale, no skills, or just low on all of it? If you're sick, you're tired, the answer is you can't. Staying high on your emotions all the time will exhaust you. Not being authentic will have people just turning and walking the other way. You can't shine until you've released those blocks. You can't release those blocks until you let go of the past. You can't let go of the past until you have a conscious connection with someone who is not you. But once you release those blocks, once you have that conscious connection, once you've released all that, you could begin perfecting your own life. And you could watch the world just kind of like take form around you. It's true. It's very true. It will require some changes on your part. But if you truly want to declare your independence, do it today. Tell all those who tell you, "Oh, that'll never happen to you." Tell them to go fuck themselves. And even if you just fail spectacularly, at least you tried. And those who tried to hold you back, those who didn't support you, well, their little I told you so is going to be very hollow. Because those that supported you will help you get back onto your feet. They'll dust you off. And they'll keep backing you every step of the way. I hope that made sense to you. Because remember, Some people gave everything, and I do mean everything, so that you could breathe free today. But what good is it if all you're concerned with was safety and security? So my question to you is this: how do you live? Because this is how. This is a life worth living. Taking those risks, failing spectacularly, learning from them, do it again. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Nothing lost either, but, hey, where's the fun in that? You know, I've even heard people get mad at me for investing in crypto, and I'm like, why? It's not your money, it's mine. I can put that little bit in there until it totals up to a certain amount, and then just leave it there. Let it do its thing. And if it all goes to zero tomorrow, guess what? I can still eat. I can still pay for things. I can still pay my bills. Still buy RPG stuff. Still paint miniatures. Still do these readings for you. It's literally not going to interrupt any of that. And that's my question. Why are you angry about it? Isn't getting angry at me about that like sort of like getting angry at me for having a donut when you're the one on a diet? It's true. And even when I am on a diet, I don't get mad at other people for having donuts. I don't get mad at people for eating cheeseburgers or pizza. It's their decision, not mine. That's the thing you have to remember. So, thank you so much for joining me. I know this went a little longer than most and went a little sideways, but we still got a great message out of it. It applies to me just as much as it applies to you. It applies to us because it applies to the world around us. If you want to perfect the world around you, start with you. Change you. Watch all of those other things start falling into place. It's not easy, but it's better than the alternative. I just want you to remember, take care of yourselves and each other. Always. Do what lights you up. And just as that card will tell you, shine on. Alright, so happy 4th, everyone. I hope that you have a very safe and enjoyable 4th of July. I know that sounds weird, especially when I was like, safety and security, where's the fun in that? Well, what I'm going to say is mitigate your risks. Don't blow your hands off, screwing with the fireworks this time around. You know what? I'm going to do 2 card pulls because I do have the day off today. I'm going to do 2 card pulls on high notes. So, using the exact same cards that I used just now, I'm going to shuffle these and then I'm going to pull a card from each one for today. Just be sure you're focused on being who you are, who you really are. I don't care what that looks like to you, just do it. got a little story for you. I was kind of the weird goth kid in my 20s. Lots of people had a problem with it. And I always wondered, why can't I just do what I do and, you know, be left alone about it? And the fact of the matter was, I, believe it or not, living out loud can come across as getting in people's faces. And I'm going to say my approach probably was not the best. So I'm going to take a little responsibility in that. Because I was dealing with people who did not understand it. They didn't get it. And they really had no intention of getting it. But guess what? It's okay. And if I had approached it with the, it's okay. You don't have to get it. It's fine. Probably would have gotten a lot farther. There are people who don't understand the music I listen to, the movies I watch, the books I read. That's fine. But I'm still going to do it. And, you know, some people don't understand the faith that the spiritual practices I put on YouTube and BitChute, CloudHub, Rumble every day. And guess what? It's okay. I don't expect you to. You can always, like, click off of this video, move on to something else that you really want to see. That's fine. But I'm still going to do it. So long as we have that understanding, we're okay. I mean, aside from that, well, what's anyone really going to do? Probably walk around grumbling all day. Let them. Let those people exhaust themselves. You don't have to. I know the world can seem pretty unfair at times. And in no way am I telling you that the changes you make are going to make the world a more fair place. It's going to happen like, you know, light and sparkly things are going to come from your hands and boom, it's just going to be so. I'm not telling you that at all. That's what movies would have you believe. It's not the way it actually works. Just remember, you got to work on you. That's the key thing. Work on you. You work on you, and you'll find that more people will kind of want to come your way a little bit. You go their way, they come your way till you meet in the middle. And that's the thing, meeting in the middle. You don't have to give up the farm, ladies and gentlemen. That's not how this works. But you can't expect others to give up theirs either. Hope that made sense. Alright, out of here. Love you guys. Have a happy and safe 4th. Hope you enjoy plenty of barbecue. Hope you enjoy time with family. And just remember why you're enjoying that time with family. Take care.